OFC Nation, welcome back to the War Rig. Glad you can make it. Tonight in this video, let's talk about places you should avoid post SHTF. Now, the number one, in my humble opinion, are cities, large towns, villages, the like, 30,000 plus population. All right, they're going to have large numbers of unprepared people. All right, people are going to want what you have because you are more prepared. You're watching this video, ergo you are more prepared. Trust me. One of the things you want to do to avoid large cities, medium cities, small cities, large towns, you want to try to skirt around them if you can. All right, and that's silly for me to say if you can, because you can. There's very few places you can't skirt around. All right, but to do this, you need to have maps. How will you know what maps you'll need? Well, this goes back to prior planning prevents piss poor performance. All right, you know where you're going to go, or more than likely, what region you will be residing in, living in, or going to in a X scenario, whatever that may be. Get the maps now. Highway maps, pretty easy to come by. But if you want to go the extra mile, topographic maps would be a complementary item to the standard highway maps, because they will show you the geographic features of the land, all right, the topography of the land. And this is important for the next thing. But before we get to the next thing, night travel. If you have to skirt around cities, I want to say for almost every scenario where it would be just me, one or two other people, maybe the baby sharks, something like there are some kids or older people with me, and we have small groups, and we have to move. We're going to do primarily so at night. All right, we're going to move at night, preferably with nods. If you don't have some form of night vision, and I'm one of those that typically says, night vision's not a big thing, but for, tactically, yes, it's a good thing to have if you can. But for movement, for stealth, it's a great item to have, a great tool for the tool bag. All right, because it allows you to be able to move relatively easily at night, extreme low light or no light conditions, and be less detectable. All right, move at night. Start moving an hour after sundown. Stop moving an hour before sunrise. All right, find a little spot, dig in, stay hidden, wait for the day to pass, sleep the day away. Somebody maintains watch, security, and then nightfall, move on. Because you're trying to avoid drawing attention to yourself. You're trying to avoid hostile elements that may be out there in that environment. And the best way to avoid confrontation with marauders, cannibals, whatever, is for them simply not to even know you're there. All right, so don't be walking around at night with a flashlight. It defeats the whole purpose. It makes you traveling at night with a flashlight will make you more visible than if you were traversing the same territory during the day in broad daylight, just bebopping down the road. Nighttime, flashlight, post SHTF, it's going to stand out. It's going to be a beacon, and it's going to attract something. Probably something in that scenario that you don't want. All right, number 2, avoid choke points. topographical maps. That's why I said topographical maps complement. Now choke points, talking natural and man-made. So you gotta plan your routes accordingly to avoid choke points. Man-made, a few of them are tunnels, bridges, alleyways, tall buildings on either side where you can't egress left or right, and if you're forced to move this way and this way only, that is a choke point. All right, you don't want to be caught in choke points. They're great ambush locations. All right, cliffs. If you have a cliff on one side, you're looking down, you're driving down a road, and you got a cliff on the left side and a river on the right side, and there's only a narrow spot where the road travels, that is a choke point. It would be very simple for someone to be up on the cliffs shooting down onto you, and somebody in front come out, and they've literally set up an L-shaped ambush. Avoid choke points. The final, well, this is just a list of 3 things basically. Cities, choke points, and in my opinion, the final one, churches. Yes. In the immediate aftermath of civil unrest, societal collapse, EMP, coronal mass ejection, whatever caused how things are to be no more, immediately thereafter, churches are probably the last place on earth you would want to be in the continental United States. Well, why? I mean, think about it. You will have a lot of people that will seek refuge there. Panicky people, scared people. Panicky and scared humans do horrible, horrible things to other human beings. It's a fact. Now, further on down the timeline, yeah, you get established in a small area, rural community, whatever, wherever you end up, and there's a church and people are going to it, yeah, go check it out. But again, pay attention to indicators, body language, things people say, how people act around you. There will, as I've said in other videos, be a rise of religious extremism. Again, because when times get bad, extremism in all forms grows. So, religious extremism will rear its ugly head post SHTF. And it's not just like, well, those people were Jews and these people were Christians and, those are Muslims and we don't like those people. No. There will be like, okay, are you Catholic or are you Protestant? Are you Sunni Muslim or are you a Shia? Like, to that level. I mean, think of all the violence throughout history perpetrated by religious sects. Look at the Inquisitions in many different countries, just under the Catholic Church. Look at the Salem witch trials. Look at the witch trials in Sweden and Norway, and I mean, they were all over the globe. Different countries had different things like witch trials and burning people with stakes and drowning people and accusing people of conspiracy with the devil. Yeah, there are whack jobs out there, and in the absence of law and order, without rule of law, these people will start to fill these vacuums of people's fears. They'll bring people into the fold, and human beings, and people say, well, I think most people are sheep for the most part. Most people go with the flow. You see it all the time on TV. Someone's murdered and people just stood by and watched. Someone's raped on a subway and people just stood by and watched. People will do what is best for them, and if best for them is helping someone drown you or burn you at the stake, then that's what they'll do. All right? Yes, very few people hate to say it, very few people have the intestinal fortitude to speak their mind when everybody else is speaking the opposite of what they think. Very few. And that's a shame. All right, nation. I hope this gives you something to think about. So good night. God bless. To my baby sharks, Daddy loves you. Angel, love you too. All right, nation. I'm out.